Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Wang Mang, a name in Chinese history that shines like a brilliant pearl, radiating light, yet perpetually shrouded in a thick mist of mystery. His life is often regarded by later generations as a textbook example of a time traveler, a man living in an intensely feudal ancient society, yet making decisions and taking actions that far surpass the knowledge and limitations of his era. So, was Wang Mang truly a person who traveled back in time from the future? Or was he merely an out-of-place anomaly? A forward-thinking individual living in the Han Dynasty, whose ideas were simply too ahead of their time? According to some historians, Wang Mang was born into a prestigious aristocratic family. From a young age, he was praised for his diligence, thirst for knowledge, and refined manners. Unlike many other nobles, who indulged in a life of luxury and decadence, Wang Mang led a life of simplicity and self-restraint. He valued scholarship deeply, respected talented individuals regardless of status, and treated others with notable humility and courtesy. Thanks to his character and intellect, he gradually built up prestige at court and soon distinguished himself, becoming an important imperial relative of the Han Dynasty. With strong support from his powerful clan, Wang Mang climbed further and further up the political ladder, eventually ascending the throne through a system of abdication and establishing his own regime, the Xin dynasty. However, what truly made Wang Mang a candidate for being a time traveler wasn't how he seized power, but rather the series of ahead-of-its-time reforms he implemented after becoming emperor. These policies might not seem extraordinary today, but in the context of a feudal society over 2,000 years ago, they were groundbreaking, if not outright baffling. One of his most notable reforms was the implementation of state ownership of land. He advocated that all land should be owned by the state, and instituted the equal field system, under which land would be distributed by the government to ensure that every farmer had access to arable land. This move directly challenged the land monopolies of the wealthy landlords and aimed to realize the vision of land for the tiller, helping to narrow the wealth gap. In addition, he abolished the traditional slave system and introduced the concept of private dependence, no longer allowing slaves to be bought and sold like commodities. In the context of ancient society, this was undoubtedly a radical move. Yet it resonates with modern concepts of human rights and equality. Even more astonishing was his introduction of a state monopoly system, under which the rights to produce and sell essentials such as salt, alcohol, and iron were centralized under government control. This was effectively an early version of a planned economy, where the state dominated key industries and controlled the lifeblood of the economy. These ideas, viewed today, seem strikingly similar to those proposed by reform-minded modern politicians with strong social ideals. But over 2 millennia ago, they were truly earth-shattering. Even the famous scholar Hu Shi once said that Wang Mang was the first socialist in Chinese history. Imagine, a man living before the Common Era could conceive of systems and ideals that mirror those of modern society so closely. It's no wonder that people can't help but wonder, was he really from the future, sent back in time to reshape a world that wasn't ready for him? Moreover, Wang Mang's ahead of his time thinking extended beyond politics into his lifestyle and attitudes. He even showed a certain modern sensibility that remains difficult to explain. One particularly striking example involves the clothing style of his wife. An incident that has led many to suspect, could this be another clue to his time-traveling origins? According to historical records, there was an occasion when Wang Mang's mother fell ill, prompting many court officials to visit and pay their respects. During this reception, Wang Mang's wife appeared wearing an extremely short skirt. So short, in fact, that it could be compared to today's mini skirts or even micro skirts. Such attire was absolutely shocking for the time. In the Han Dynasty, women's clothing was strictly regulated and emphasized modesty and decorum, particularly for the lower body, which was not to be exposed. Yet Wang Mang's wife boldly defied these norms and wore such avant-garde clothing. A move that, at the time, was nothing short of earth-shaking. This incident caused quite a stir in the imperial court. Many officials were shocked and unsettled, and even began whispering among themselves in private. After all, in an era that upheld female virtue and strict etiquette as core values, such attire was almost a blatant challenge to social norms. What made it even more surprising was that Wang Mang appeared unfazed by the matter. In fact, one could say he tacitly approved of his wife's clothing. His attitude seemed remarkably open-minded and completely at odds with the prevailing beliefs of the time, which held that men should strictly control their households. This only added more weight to the theory that Wang Mang might have been a time traveler. Beyond his progressive behavior in politics and personal life, it's said that an artifact unearthed from his tomb has further fueled speculation about him being a man from the future. In 1992, archaeologists discovered a peculiar bronze instrument in Wang Mang's burial site, a bronze caliper. What's astonishing is that its structure closely resembles that of the modern vernier caliper, with nearly identical measurement principles. It's worth noting that the earliest known documentation of the vernier caliper appears in 1631. Invented by French mathematician Pierre Vernier, over 1,600 years after Wang Mang's time. Yet here was a similar device, appearing in pre-modern China, as if it had leapt across the chasm of time. Naturally, this raises questions. Was this artifact truly from the future? Did Wang Mang somehow possess a form of advanced technology beyond our comprehension? Or was it all just a remarkable coincidence? Of course, there is no solid evidence to prove that Wang Mang was a time traveler. A more plausible explanation is that he was simply a highly forward-thinking reformer. His ideas were so advanced that people of his era couldn't understand them. And even modern historians struggle to believe that such thoughts could have originated over 2,000 years ago. Historical records also show that during his reign, Wang Mang launched massive construction projects. He not only built temples for his ancestors, but also attempted to associate himself with the legendary Yellow Emperor, claiming to be his descendant. To this end, he ordered the construction of the 9 ancestral temples for past emperors and summoned the finest craftsmen from across the empire to participate. These temples were built to lavish standards, especially the Supreme Ancestral Temple of the Yellow Emperor, which stretched 40 zhang, approximate 130 meters, on each of its 4 sides and stood 17 zhang, approximate 55 meters, tall. Though other temples were built on a smaller scale, about half the size, they were still required to be adorned with gold and silver, reflecting utmost splendor. Due to a shortage of treasury funds, Wang Mang demanded donations from the people, when building materials ran short. He dismantled more than a dozen large structures in the western gardens of Chang'an to reuse their components. Moreover, Wang Mang harbored ambitions of becoming immortal. He dispatched people to gather herbs and concoct elixirs in pursuit of eternal life. He even ordered the construction of a gigantic chariot modeled after the mythical Huagai carriage used by the Yellow Emperor. Measuring over 8 zhang tall, approximate 26 meters. It took 6 horses and 300 strong men to pull the vehicle. When Wang Mang rode it, these men had to shout, ascending to immortality, as they pulled, symbolizing his supposed rise to the heavens. According to some historians, Wang Mang was a deeply controversial figure. Some view him as an idealistic reformer, trying to restore order and rebuild the rights and institutions. Others see him as a hypocrite and usurper, responsible for plunging the nation into chaos. His life was a tangled mix of morality and ambition, reform and misrule. And in the end, it all concluded with his death and the fall of his regime, making him one of the most tragic and hotly debated figures in Chinese history. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.